Well, let's talk about the same kind of interesting distraction, if you will. I mean, I'm sure people can disagree. And even I have a worry that there's something more like, like I've always talked about, that because of how many people caught on to the last illusion that COVID-19 was, maybe something else will happen. And I'm not even trying to fearmonger. It's just a logical possibility. But, like deliberately do something to cause the kind of panic. And maybe somebody else who might do that. But this is Fox News, March 25th. New COVID variant spreads across the U.S. as the CDC raises concerns. Yeah, that's the Trump administration CDC. Same people. BA.3.2 has been detected in 25 states and has shown, guess what, guys? You're going to be shocked. Immune escape characteristics. Guess what? The vaccine's just not doing it, if that's even what's really going on. A new variant of COVID-19 is spreading across the U.S., health officials say. The variant has shown immune escape characteristics, the CDC stated, which means it has mutations that may help it partially evade existing immunity from vaccines and prior infection. It's just ridiculous. Sure, you're out there counting your blessings that you got those 75 vaccines that don't work for you right now. But it goes on. That was it. The main point for me is the idea that, one, it's happening now. When really, 25 states, well, that means they've been seeing this for not just today, right, or yesterday. Funny how it's just now being shoved from Fox News into our conversation. I would wonder why. Now, even if it's a real thing, same point. To point to this is something they know will catch attention. That's my opinion. It could be, maybe it's just reporting because they think it's important. But I think it's important to highlight for the people who want to see this as one-sided conversation that the Donald Trump CDC, the RFK CDC, under the HHS, is currently still recommending COVID-19 shots. Now, that may not matter to some people. Maybe you think that's a good thing. I think that's insane, and I think it's dangerous, especially it's dishonest or hypocritical, rather, based on what this administration is in some places still saying. 2025, 2026 COVID-19 vaccine, which, by the way, if you haven't been following the show, is new and out there. As I showed you right after. In fact, I showed you this while they were claiming they were stopping COVID-19 shots. And let me see. I think it was this show. Yeah. And I think the show before and after this was in the same vein of conversation. Trump admin leans into self-amplifying mRNA shots under the guise of mRNA, or of ending mRNA. And here's that one in case you want to see it. And well, there's many of them, but this is the one that was right there, Arcturus. And this is still being made. It's still going forward. And this is the self-amplifying mRNA COVID-19 shot. And he made a point, RFK Jr., to explicitly state that Arcturus would continue. In the very document that people screamed shows you he was stopping COVID-19 shots. How stupid this is. Now, that shot, as I showed you then, was still going on, and that's the 2025, 2026 COVID-19 shot. That is the Comirnaty. That is the mRNA. That is the same shot that we were all fighting, that Donald Trump's administration is currently recommending for people over 6 months. Seems like a pretty ridiculous thing, right? Just simply from the reality of what they were claiming before and what RFK said he was going to do. ACIP, this is from Health and Human Services. This is from RFK Jr.'s position. From his not institution. It's so funny how sometimes you just can't think of it. But, so you have, just to understand, this HHS is, the head of the health dynamic in this country. CDC would be under that. And so it's important to understand that from RFK being responsible for overseeing all of that. And so even the HHS website put this out. ACIP recommends COVID-19 immunization based on individual decision-making. Oh, how nice of them to say based on your own decisions. But they still recommend it, is the point. With all he told us, which is right, dangerous, deadly, never should be put in your body. Absolutely one of the most dangerous things I've ever seen in my life that is still causing this global population to spin out of control. I don't mean cancers and dangerous things, which, by the way, are now just blended in the background. We don't even talk about it. But if you ever taken a step back and looked at the increase in mortality, you just step back and look at the increase in cancers, in heart attacks, myocarditis, it's still going up. People just don't talk about it anymore because the mainstream alternative media is trying to get you looking somewhere else, and that pretends to be the full conversation. Crazy. So moving on. Oh, actually, 2 more points on distractions. Let me put these in the show notes for you. On that point, I just kind of did this to be funny, but I definitely think that it is relevant for now. We should definitely be questioning this claim in general, the claim that the COVID-19 variant is spreading, especially now, and especially when being made by this administration. But I just put this in just to make the point, right, that right now, it's easy to see the consideration could be that this story itself would be sort of a break in case of emergency. Oh, new COVID variant will definitely distract, but maybe not. Now, here's Benny Johnson. President Trump turns 80 on the 14th. He still got it. Yeah, real journalism. It's just like shameless cheerleading. But that's his whole thing, right? And then Health Ranger comes in and says, "When did you become a cheerleader for a genocidal war criminal?" I'm like, really? Like, I'm glad he's calling him out, but I'm glad to see more people calling out these obvious team sport politics manipulators. But let's not pretend like Benny or the rest of the group were ever doing anything other than what you're calling out right now. He's been cheerleading since Jump Street, man. That's exactly what he's been doing the second this administration started. So is it that Health Ranger just never saw it? Or, I don't know. Like, I'm glad to see people are changing their opinions on this, but there shouldn't be some kind of revisionist view about everything just because, these people were exactly the same thing they are now that they were when this started. And the mail-in ballot thing is just an additional point to this that I think is insane. Like, of all these points, funny, like I keep talking about people that are close to me who and I've been talking about that over this administration many times, right? How there's people close to me who are just regular people who are not, they're not in part of an agenda, they're not part of a group, they're not online, media, but are still falling for these things. And I think that's important because I tend to wonder whether or not just genuine, honest people get tricked by this stuff or like an agenda. And so they do in some cases, which has changed the way I report in a way because I know that I have to tailor it towards not just everybody saying this is lying. It's like, which I would never do anyway. It can't be that hyperbolic. But the point is that even these people, as of right now, are like, he's ruining his presidency. Like they're like, either he must be blackmailed by somebody. Like, I don't believe he would do this, or whatever he's driving it. This is ruining his presidency. And these are people that have been like in previous conversations, we're still choosing to support him, even with how obvious and bad it was. And maybe just because they wanted to support him and hope it went the right way. And now even those people have found the line that is too far. And so this is one of those things that I just think is embarrassing. It's a smaller point in the larger conversation, but it just shows you an utter lack of conviction, guys. Mail-in ballots. Here's how it started.
On social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you explain on that? How?
Well, I will. That's a very off-topic. Just really quickly, mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible.
I agree with that, by the way. I don't think mail-in ballots should be part of it. I think it's very manipulative, like he pretends to believe.
That we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt and...
So note, he's not saying in some circumstances are bad and should be kept for certain anomalies or certain situations, but are corrupt, bad, shouldn't exist. Let's not pretend that's not what he's saying. It's exactly what he's saying.
You know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing
So we're the only country that uses them because of fraud? He just speaks off the cuff and doesn't make any sense. But so it's also about the electronic voting machines, which, mark my words, will be used, midterms will be used in his next election, or the next election, whether or not he's involved. I'm just watch, guys. They were used. Like, he made this same case, and I agree with, by the way, that I made the case with going back 10 years ago, whether Clint Curtis and the testimony about the fraud or anything else about how these Diebold machines and all the rest, how are literally used to manipulate us. That's part of how this game is played. We're not even actually involved in this process as far as I'm concerned anymore. And then guess what? He used them again. Or rather, in this last election process, he used it again. And now my point is, now while he's president, watch as they use them again in the midterms. You have to understand what that shows you. Now, that was then. Here's now.
Tell me about mail-in ballots. Go ahead. You mean I used a mail-in ballot? You probably said, yeah, I did. You know what? Because I'm president of the United States, and because of the fact that I'm president of the United States, I did a mail-in ballot for elections that took place in Florida because I felt I should be here instead of being in the beautiful sunshine taking.
Oh, okay. So, the same logic that plenty of Americans also apply. And yes, and then also some places there's fraud, right? But so the idea that it's just okay for you because you have a lodge, because I'm here and I'm busy and I don't want to, well, yeah, Trump, so too do a lot of other people feel that way. And I want to be clear again, I don't agree with them being used at all, like he pretended he did. But he just did one because he can.
Palm Beach served the last few weekends.
That's right. And I decided that I was going to vote by mail-in ballot because I couldn't be there because I had a lot of different things. But we
had a lot of different things. Great.
We have exceptions for mail-in ballots. You do know that, right? So if you're away, we have an exception. Okay. If you're in the military, we have an exception. If you're on a business trip, we have an exception.
Wow, that's a lot of exceptions. I mean, business trips, on vacation, in the military. Now, does he agree with that when it's not justifying his use of it? No, he does not. And he's made that case.
Disabled, we have an exception. And if you're ill, if you're not feeling good,
wow. Okay. Is that what Republicans agree with? That now you can just have a bunch of evil Democrats who just pretend to be sick to use it is how they probably frame that. You know what I mean? Like it's just wildly hypocritical. And the only reason he's defending it aggressively is because he just got caught for doing it, or at least it got found out and he has to defend it. If this hadn't happened, what his argument, you heard his argument. Bad, no matter what, shouldn't be allowed because I'm all big and tough when I'm not the one being exposed for hypocrisy.
I was away mostly in Washington, D.C., so I used a mail-in ballot. But I appreciate the question because I know it was so well-meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. See, because you got exposed, and so he's well-meaning. Like it's an honest question because you're being a hypocrite, and everyone else in the room seems to be just petting. You're doing so great, Mr. Trump. You've nice shoes. What time? Where'd you buy the shirt? That kind of dumb stuff that you're talking about in the media today. Wild. Okay.